Hello, my dear students. Welcome to Sankalp learning classes. Today we are solving some important MCQ questions from the human reproductions chapter. So in last class also we solved some important questions from this chapter. I hope all are ready to listen the class. Be ready with your notebook and pen. So note down the important questions. Okay. Let's start today's session with this question. Let's read the question properly. During embryonic development, oogonia starts dividing and enters into which stage and gets temporarily arrested. So, dear students, if you know the answer, please comment your answer in chat box. Metaphase 2 of the mitotic division, prophase 2 of the mitotic division, metaphase 1 of the meiotic division, prophase 1 of the meiotic division. Yes, what's the correct answer? Option D. Yes. So here the oogonia, the formation of the oogonial cells that start at the stage of the birth. Before the birth, the oogonial cells are developed in the ovary. So after that, the oogonial cells, they start the meiotic cell division, but they arrested in prophase 1 of the meiotic division. Prophase 1 of the meiotic 1 division. So the correct answer, option D, is the correct answer. Fourth answer. Second question. Identify the correct statement. For normal fertility, at least 40% of the sperm should have a normal shape and size, and at least 60% must exhibit vigorous motility. Second one, oogonial cells start to proliferate and give rise to the functional zygotes in a regular cycles from the puberty onwards. Male germ cells give rise to primary oocyte. Here, progesterone level is high during the post-ovulatory phase of the menstrual cycle. Yes, you have to identify the correct statement here. See the first statement, for normal fertility, at least 40% of the sperm should have normal shape and size. So here not 40%, 60% of the sperm should have normal shape and size, and at least 60% must exhibit vigorous motility. So here at least 40% must exhibit vigorous motility. Second statement, so the first one is the wrong statement. Oogonial cells start to proliferate and give rise to the functional zygote in regular cycles from puberty onwards. So they do not form the functional zygotes in regular cycle. So that is the wrong statement. Male germ cell give rise to the primary oocyte. No, they do not produce the primary oocyte. Male germ cell produce the primary spermatocytes, not the oocyte. So here the correct option, progesterone level is high during the post-ovulatory phase of the menstrual cycle. Why progesterone level is high? Because the progesterone that is released by the corpus luteum, so that is formed after the ovulation, that is the ruptured Graafian follicle that develop into corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum that forms the that releases the progesterone. So option D is the correct answer. Progesterone level is high during the post-ovulatory phase and menstrual cycle of the menstrual cycle. So here option D is the correct one. Please note down the answer. Option D is the fourth one is the correct answer. Next one. Read the statement 1 to 4 and identify the correct statement. So this is the first statement. Cyclic changes occur in the endometrium during the menstrual cycle. Second statement. Here, the external thin membrane of the uterus is the perimetrium. Strong uterine contraction occurs in the myometrium at the time of parturition. The uterus opens into narrow cervix through the vagina. So here, how many of these statements are the correct statements? You have to identify the correct statements here. So here, read the first statement. Cyclic changes occur in the endometrium of the during menstrual cycle. This is the correct statement because endometrial layer, so that breakdown and comes out in the form of blood and mucus during the menstrual cycle. So that is the correct statement. And read the second statement. Strong, the external thin membrane of the uterus is the perimetrium. So here this is also correct statement. The external thin membrane of the uterus, that is the perimetrium. That is also correct statement. Then here first and second statements are correct. First and second statement. Read the third one. Strong uterine contraction occurs in myometrium at the time of parturition. Yes, myometrium. So that helps for the strong uterine contraction occurs in the myometrium. Yes, this layer. So this is the middle layer of the uterine that helps for the uterine contraction. That is also correct one. The uterus opens into narrow cervix through vagina. So here this statement is incorrect because the uterus opens into vagina through the cervix. The uterus open into vagina through the cervix. So here this statement is wrong statement. So the correct option 1, 2, 3 only. 1, 2 and 3 only. Next question. In the diagram below, which of the following represents the tertiary follicle? So here, which of the following represents the tertiary follicle? So just you have to identify the correct structure, correct diagram in this image. So here, see, this is the ruptured Graafian follicle, and this third one that represents the corpus luteum. So third one C is the wrong one because it represents the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. Then see, this is the second one is the matured Graafian follicle. So this is matured Graafian follicle. So here you can see the antrum and the secondary oocyte here. So this is the second one is the matured Graafian follicle. So second one is also wrong one. Then fourth one, so this is the primary follicles, right? So these are the primary follicles and this is the secondary follicle and this one is the first one is the, so here A1 that is the tertiary follicle, right? So here tertiary follicle that is characterized by the cavity that is called as the antrum. So this is the correct option. This is the tertiary follicle. This is Graafian follicle, corpus luteum, and the primary follicles. Next question. The umbilical cord is the connection between the embryo and the placenta. Here, options. This is the first option, second one, third one, and this one is the fourth one. The embryo and the placenta, the uterus and the fallopian tube, the pituitary gland of the mother and the embryo, the myometrium and the placenta. So here the umbilical cord. So that is the umbilical cord, that is the connection between the myometrium and placenta. No, this is the not wrong one. And the pituitary gland and the mother, so that is also wrong one. Uterus and the fallopian tube, so this option is also wrong one. Here embryo and the placenta, so the first statement is the correct one, the embryo and the placenta. Option 1 is the correct option. Is option A. Next question. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as A, that is assertion, and other is labeled as R, that is the reason. Okay. So read the statement. Assertion: breastfeeding during the initial period of infant growth is recommended by doctors. Reason: because milk produced in the initial days of the lactation contains the several antibodies that is essential to develop the resistance in newborn babies and help them to stay healthy. So here A is assertion is true but R is false. Here second statement, assertion is false but R is true. Third statement, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Both A and R are true, but R is the not correct explanation of A. Here, breastfeeding that during the initial few days that is recommended by the doctors, that is the correct statement, because which contain the antibodies that helps to the newborn babies stay healthy. So this is also correct statement. So both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. So here option C is the correct one. Next question. Which of the following is not included in the female external genitalia? Which of the following is not included under female external genitalia? First one, vagina, hymen, mons pubis, clitoris. Yes, which of the following is not included under the female external genitalia? So, comments the correct answer. Here, vagina is not a part of the female external genitalia. So, here remaining all are considered as the female external genitalia. Option 1, vagina. Next question. Given below are two statements. Statement 1, parturition is induced by complex neuroendocrine mechanism. And statement 2, the functions of male sex accessory ducts and glands are maintained by the androgens. In the light of above statements, choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. Yes. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. So, statement 1 is correct because that is induced by new neuroendocrine mechanism. And see the second statement. The functions of male accessory duct and glands are maintained by androgens. So, androgen, for example, testosterone. Yes, that is male sex accessory ducts and glands are maintained by the androgens. That is also correct statement. So, here both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct. So, this is the correct statement. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct one. Next question. Choose the incorrect match. Here, corpus luteum, secretory phase, ovulation, secondary oocyte, menstruation on 14th day of menstrual cycle, oogenesis starts in fetal life. So here you have to find out the incorrect match. Yes, it is the incorrect match. Yes, let's see the answer. Option C. Okay. Yes, here corpus luteum. So that is uh, developed during the luteal phase. So we can call it where the progesterone is secreted by the corpus luteum. So we can call it as the uh, s- secretory phase. Actually, secretory phase, that is where the LH and FSH surge increases. That is the secretory phase. But here progesterone, that is secreted by the corpus luteum. So we can call it as the correct option. Then second one, ovulation, the release of the secondary oocyte. Yes, that is also correct one. Menstrual phase on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle, this is the wrong option. So here menstrual phase on the 14 days of the menstrual cycle, this is the wrong option here. So the menstrual phase that continues 1 to 4 days of the menstrual cycle, and oogenesis that starts in the fetal life, that is also correct option. So here the wrong option, incorrect match, that is the menstrual cycle, menstrual phase, that is 14 days of the menstrual cycle, that is the wrong option. Next one, read the statements 1 to 5. Androgens stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. And here, the first polar body is formed during the first meiotic division of the primary oocyte within the tertiary follicle. One ovum is produced during the middle of each menstrual cycle. No menstruation occurs during the pregnancy. The hymen is not a reliable indicator of the virginity. So here, how many statements are correct statements? So that you have to find out. Okay. So yes, try to find out the correct answer for this. Yes, read the question properly. Here, the androgens stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. Yes, androgens stimulate the process of the spermatogenesis, mainly the testosterone. So that plays the main role in the spermatogenesis, where the production of the sperms and maturation. So for that, these androgens are very essential. Then the second statement, the first polar body is formed during the first meiotic division of the primary oocyte. Just imagine this is the primary oocyte, and which is arrested at the first uh, propase 1 of the meiotic division after the puberty. So it completes its meiotic first meiotic division and forms one secondary oocyte and one. So that is the polar body, right? Here, this is also correct statement. So that is present in the tertiary follicle. No menstruation occurs during the pregnancy. That is also correct statement. No menstruation. That is also a one ovum is produced during the middle of each menstrual cycle. Here, ovum is not released. Here, secondary oocyte is released, right? So, secondary oocyte is released during the menstrual cycle, and the secondary oocyte that completes the second meiotic division and forms the, so it forms the ovum. So after, so that is formed after the during the fertilization. So this is the wrong statement. Then the hymen, so the hymen is not a reliable indicator of virginity. That is also correct statement. So here out of 5, 4 statements are correct. So here first statement, second one, fourth one and the fifth one. Here one ovum, not ovum. So that is the secondary oocyte. Next question. Morula is an embryonic developmental stage that is formed between the zygote and blastocyst, between implantation and parturition, between blastocyst and gastrula, more than one of the above. Yes, what's the correct answer for this? So here between the zygote and blastocyst, right? So in the during the developmental stage, zygote is formed. So just imagine this is the zygote which undergo the cleavage and form the two cell stage. Then 4 celled, 8 and 16. Okay, so this is the 16, 8 cell stage. 8 to 16 blastomere stage, that is called as the morula. Then it will develop into gastrula, pink color gastrula. Then it become blastocyst. After that, implantation takes place. So between zygote and the blastocyst, that is the correct answer. Between zygote and the blastocyst. So this is the zygote and this is the blastocyst. Here morula stage is present, right? Next question. Penetration of zona pellucida by sperm facilitated by the enzymes present in middle piece, tail, acrosome and the nucleus. So this is the direct answer. So the penetration of the uh, ovum that takes place with the help of the enzymes present in the acrosome. So middle piece, tail and nucleus that does not contain the enzymes. Okay. Next question. In humans, the zygote carrying XX chromosomes develop into female and XY chromosomes develop into male baby. Thus, scientifically, it is correct to say that sex of the baby is determined by father, mother, grandfather, and the grandmother. You know the answer. You know the correct answer. That is, sex is determined by the father, not by the mother. Yes, option A is the correct answer. Next question. If the ovum carrying the X chromosome and sperm carrying the X chromosome fuses to form the zygote, develop into male, female, twin babies. Yes, what's the correct option? Yes, that is the female, because always XX will be the female, XX chromosome will be the female and XY will be the male. Next question. In human females, the fertilized eggs get implanted in the uterus after 1 month of the fertilization, 2 months of the fertilization, 7 days after fertilization, 3 weeks of fertilization. See here, in human females, the fertilized eggs get implanted. So after the fertilization, the zygote get implanted in the uterus after 1 month of fertilization. No. 2 months of fertilization. No, this is the wrong one. 7 days of fertilization. Yes, this is the correct option. 7 days of fertilization is the correct option. Next question. Which of the following structures is the site of spermatogenesis? Prostate gland, urethra, bulbourethral gland, seminiferous tubule. So, where the spermatogenesis process takes place? Option: prostate gland, urethra, and bulbourethral gland. So these are the two glands that involve in the uh, formation formation of the semen. So that secrete the some secretion to the sperms that help for the movement and the growth of the sperms. But this is the part of the sperm male reproductive structure, and urethra that also helps for the that is the passage that help for the removal of the uh, excretion of that the sperms through the urethra. But the formation takes place at the seminiferous tubule. The formation takes place at the seminiferous tubule. Option D is the correct answer. Next question. During spermatogenesis, the diploid cell that begins meiosis is called primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatid spermatogonium. So here diploid cell begins the meiosis. So spermatogonium that will undergo the multiplication and growth that will become primary spermatocyte. So that is also diploid in condition, and that start to form the meiosis, that is the primary spermatocyte. Option A is the correct answer, that is the primary spermatocyte. Next question. Each secondary spermatocyte undergoes the second meiotic division to produce how many spermatids? So, how many spermatids are present? Each secondary spermatocytes, that is haploid, and so that produces the four or two spermatids. So here not primary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes they are asking, right? So the secondary spermatocyte that produces the two spermatid, but primary spermatocyte that produces two secondary spermatocyte and four spermatids. So the correct option, that is the option A, 2, not 4. See here, this is the primary spermatocyte. Okay, so this is the first primary spermatocyte which undergo the meiotic division and form the first meiotic division and form the two secondary spermatocyte. Right. So these are the secondary spermatocyte. This secondary spermatocyte undergo the second meiotic division and form the two spermatids. So here they are asking about this one secondary spermatocyte that produces how many spermatid? That is two. Okay. So the correct option A, 2. So if they ask in case primary spermatocyte means option B is the correct answer. But here secondary spermatocyte, so option A is the correct answer. Arrange the following stages into correct sequence: spermatogonium, spermatid, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, sperm. So here you know that sperm, that is at the last stage, right? So here in which option you can find 5? So option A, option C and option D. Option B is the wrong one because 5 is at not at the last. Sperm, that is at the last. Spermatogonium, so that is the male germ cell, right? So that undergo the maturation and growth and form the primary spermatocyte. Here option C and D. So in these two options, first one spermatogonium is there. So you can delete the option A also. Then C, spermatogonium, that forms the primary spermatocytes. One, next three. Not directly secondary spermatocyte. So it forms the primary spermatocyte, then secondary spermatocyte, then spermatid, then sperm. So option D is the correct one. Here spermatogonium, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, then spermatid and the sperm. So option D is the correct answer. Next question. Acrosome of sperm contains DNA, mitochondria, axial filament, hydrolytic enzymes. So the acrosome, that is the structure like this, which is present in the sperm. So here, this structure, it contains the hydrolytic enzymes. So which contain the hydrolytic enzymes that help for the penetration of the ovum. Okay, so during the fertilization, so that is the correct answer. Mitochondria is present in the middle piece of the sperm. Next question. Sperms after being produced develop motility in. So where they develop the motility? Option A, epididymis. Option B, vas deferens. Option C, seminiferous tubule, urethra. So here, option, okay. The sperms being produced, they develop the motility in epididymis. That is the male accessory duct. So this is the part of the male accessory duct. So that is the first one, epididymis. Next question. In spermatogenesis, the phases of maturation involve formation of spermatids from the primary spermatocytes, growth of the spermatogonia into primary spermatocyte, formation of spermatogonia from gonocytes throughout the mitosis, formation of oogonia from spermatocytes through the meiosis. Here, the maturation phase means, the phase of maturation means the male germ cell, that is called as the spermatogonia, so that undergo the maturation and form the primary spermatocytes. So option B is the correct one. Formation of spermatids, that is not the correct one. Formation of the spermatogonia from gonocyte, formation of the spermatogonia, that is the wrong one. Formation of oogonia, oogonia is, so that does not come in the spermatogenesis. So option D is the correct, wrong answer. So the correct one, option B, growth of spermatogonia from primary spermatocyte. into, sorry, growth of spermatogonia into primary spermatocyte. That is the correct answer. Not A. A is the wrong answer. Next question. The process of spermatogenesis is induced by TSH, FSH, MSH, ACTH. So here TSH, that is the thyroid stimulating hormone, that does not take part in the spermatogenesis, and MSH, that is melanocyte stimulating hormone, that also not take part in the spermatogenesis, and ACTH, that also not take part in the spermatogenesis. So here follicle stimulating hormone, mainly it, the process of spermatogenesis induced by FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone. Next question. During spermatogenesis, the diploid daughter cell that begins meiosis is called the diploid cell. Primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatid, spermatogonium. So which cells begins the spermat meiosis cell division? Spermatogonium directly does not begin the spermatogenesis. It undergo the maturation and form the primary spermatocyte. So these primary spermatocytes are diploid and they are able to produce the, they start the meiosis. So option A is the correct answer. The actual genetic section of sperm is its acrosome, tail, middle piece, head. The genetic material that is present in which part of the sperm? Yes, option D, head, because it contains the nucleus. Head contain the nucleus. So, in the nucleus, you know that genetic material is present. Option D. Next question. Dash provides the energy to the sperm for its movement. Tail, middle piece, head, acrosome. Which part produces the energy for its movement? Here, the correct option is, yes, B, middle piece. Why? Because it contain the mitochondria, right? The middle piece that contain the mitochondria. So the mitochondria, so that produces the energy, help for the movement of the sperm. Next question. The funnel-shaped portion of fallopian tube is known as ampulla, isthmus, infundibulum, fimbriae. Here, in the female reproductive system, here you find finger-like projection, that is fimbriae, and funnel-shaped structure. Here, the shape should be funnel-shaped, that is the infundibulum. Then this narrower part, that is the isthmus, and this is the ampulla. Here, the funnel-shaped structure of the fallopian tube, that is the infundibulum. Next, the widest and longest portion of the tube is isthmus, infundibulum, fimbriae, and ampulla. So, in the female reproductive system, the female reproductive system, so here this is the infundibulum, fimbriae, and here this part, that is the widest and longest part, that is the ampulla where the fertilization takes place. Ampulla where the fertilization takes place. Option D is the correct one, ampulla. Next question. The inferior narrow part of the uterus known as. The inferior narrow part of the uterus known as fundus, cervix, urethra, body. Here the fundus is the region that is not, that is present at the posterior part of the ovary, but inferior, the narrow portion of the uterus is called as the cervix. The correct option, option B, cervix. The middle layer of uterus is known as perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium, none of this. The middle layer of the uterus. So this is very easy, direct question. Outermost layer, that is perimetrium. Middle layer, that is the myometrium. Option B, myometrium is the correct answer. Next question. Which of the following structures help in the collection of the ovum after ovulation? Which of the following structure that helps, that collect the ovum after the ovulation? Infundibulum, that is the funnel shaped structure. Ampulla, where the fertilization takes place. Isthmus, that is the narrow structure of the fallopian tube. So the fimbriae, the finger like projections that helps for the collection of the ovum after the fertilization, that is the fimbriae. Not ampulla, fimbriae is the correct answer. Next question. In the female reproductive system, the funnel shaped part of the fallopian tube closest to the ovary is, that is the infundibulum that we discussed already. The primary female sex organs are located one on each side of the upper abdomen at a time, only one side of the upper abdomen, and one on each side of the lower abdomen at a time, only one side of the lower abdomen. So where they are situated, so one on each side of the upper or lower abdomen, so that is the lower abdomen, one on each side of the lower abdomen. So that is the correct answer, option 3. Next question. Female reproductive system doesn't include ovaries, external genitalia, mammary glands, bulbourethral gland. Yes, what's the answer for this question? Please comment your answer. Ovaries, that is the part of the female reproductive structure. External genitalia, that is also part of the female reproductive structure. Mammary glands, so that is directly not attached to this, but that is also comes under the female reproductive system. But bulbourethral glands, so that is the part of the male reproductive system. Option D is the correct answer. Next question. The figure given below depicts the diagrammatic sectional view of the female reproductive system of humans. Which one of set of three parts out of A to F have been correctly identified? Okay, so here options are given here. C. Infundibulum. C. The part C, that is the infundibulum. This is the funnel shaped structure. That is the correct one. Then C. Infundibulum and D. Fimbriae. Yes, D. Fimbriae is the correct option. So these are the finger-like projections. So that is also correct answer. And E. Cervix. Yes, E is called as the cervix. And A is not perimetrium. A is the endometrium. So A is not perimetrium. So B is myometrium. So here B is myometrium. A is not perimetrium. So this is the wrong option. And this is also wrong one. E endometrium. So that is also wrong one. Sorry. B endometrium. Let's see. B endometrium. No, B is myometrium. So this is also wrong one. So the correct option related to that figure, that is option A. You better check the diagram and tick the correct answer. Next question. The correct sequence of mammalian mammary glands ducts beginning from the alveoli. So that would be mammary tubules, mammary ducts, mammary ampulla, lactiferous duct. Here lactiferous ducts, so that is at the last. So that is not a beginning. So here you can eliminate this option also because lactiferous ducts, that is at the beginning. Mammary tubules, mammary ampulla. So that does not the mammary tubules, that opens into the mammary ducts, not mammary ampulla. So here then mammary ampulla, lactiferous duct. So option 1 is the correct answer here. So dear students, I'll give some questions to solve as a homework. Yes. Milk is produced by which cells? Yes. Note down this question or try to answer this question. Milk is produced by which cells? This is the first question. And the glandular tissue of breast is divided into 10 to 12 mammary lobes, 15 to 20 mammary lobes, 23 to 25 mammary lobes, 25 to 30 mammary lobes. Find the correct answer. The glandular tissue of the breast is divided into. Note down this question. Then find the correct order for the events of the menstrual cycle. So in the menstrual cycle, which phase is the first page? First phase, that is the menstrual phase. Then follicular phase, secretory phase, ovulation phase. Or see the second option and third and fourth also. Better you arrange it in a sequence, which is the first step and second step. Yes, read this question. Statement 1. In the later phase of the pregnancy, relaxin is released from the ovary. Yes, this is the correct statement, right? The chronic villi are surrounded by the uterine tissues and the maternal blood. So, is this the correct statement? The chronic villi surrounded by uterine tissue and the maternal blood. So here you have to find out the correct answer for this question also. Yes, please note down this question. Yes, that's all for today. If you have any doubt in this question, feel free to ask. So last few questions, you take it as a homework. Try to find out the answer for these questions. Thank you, dear students. See you in the next class.